But what the marketing pulpit is about is strategy. Use social media and stop letting it use you. That's one thing about a business. It's an equalizer. It's a game changer. Lock the refrigerator door. Do not let negativity have another bite. Don't feed it. I may stop at some period, but as long as folks acting the fool, got to talk about it. And one of the things you want to do as a business owner is to create barriers of entry. I'm not busy. I'm just in another era. If we know that women are carrying the burden, they should be paid more, they should be given more flexible work hours. We have to think like the successful companies. Good morning and welcome to the Marketing Pulpit Show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. Not saving souls, we're saving businesses, saving jobs, saving our community. Now, if I save a soul along the way, don't hold that against me. We'll just call that icing on the cake, because the mission is to build strong businesses in our community so we can put our people to work. And we do that with business development, job creation, and service. If you find yourself at a business crossroads and not sure which way to turn, which many business owners do, fear not, do not fret. Just tune into the Marketing Pulpit Show, and you'll find the answer right here. Just like many of you have tuned in today. We see people tuning in right now from LinkedIn, from YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. They're coming in, and it's for a reason, because you can get good information here. I am a business developer by trade. I have a company called Gatewood Marketing and Web. You can find out more about that company by going to gatewoodmarketing.com. I'm also an adjunct professor at Prince George's Community College, where I teach marketing, networking, branding, just cover all the subjects over there, many subjects over there in the marketing realm. I have two books called Smarter Than the Boss and one called Played in Full. And I'm also a consultant for the Small Business Administration in their 8A program. So I have a few receipts, but that's not to brag, but it's to say that if you want this information, you can get it. I have quite a few clients, and many of them are paying good, hard-earned money for this information that I'm willing to share with you today at no cost, because I am doing this for a purpose. I think we should have a stronger economic foundation in our community. We should be more viable. We should be hiring our own people. And we shouldn't be going out to other communities with our hands out when we have all this talent and resources in our community. So my job is to channel those resources into the building of successful businesses and hiring people in our community. It's a tall order, but we can do it. And thank you for tuning in and helping me fulfill my mission. Got an exciting show today, as always. We're still in the Black History Month. We're going to talk about later in the show, we're going to talk about advertising, some of the best secrets of advertising. Man, let me tell you, you must advertise. And I'm going to tell you some of the secrets, some of the best kept secrets, some of the secrets that the big companies, they know, they've been using them for years. Some of them are foundational. They haven't changed over the years. Some of the methods and means, sometimes you see these little shiny objects, people wave in front of you, free this and free that. You're not going to make it with that. So I'm going to give you some of the long-held advertising principles. And you want to get that later in the show. Let's see. Well, we're also going to talk about what's happening in the news. We're going to talk about during this month of February, we're going to have a section called Race in the Workplace. Race is that 10,000-pound gorilla that's in the room. You just tiptoe around it. But we're going to talk about how it impacts your ability to do business in these United States and abroad. Whether you're an employer, an employee, a contractor, race just seems to be one of those topics that won't go away. And it's something I'm really not even eager to talk about, but it's persistent because we have some sinister forces out here that are using race to divide us. Like we have these school systems now who are using critical race theory as a grounds for taking Black history out of the school systems. But really what it is a whitewashing of history. Some people are saying, look, I don't want you to I don't want to tell the history of this country because it makes my kids feel bad. It makes my children feel guilty. Well, I have a question. What about my darn kids? What about my kids? So you're gonna lie and deny the truth so that your kid can feel guilty, even though it may be damaging, demoralizing my children. Not going to happen. So that's why we have to push back. We have to take all the forces that we have, even shows like this that are normally dedicated to business development. We can't sit on the sidelines and let these nefarious forces rule the day. So I'm going to roll into my mission, at least for the month of February. We're going to push back. We're going to make sure the truth is told. It's not a matter of Black history or white history or Latino history or Native American history. It's about the truth. You don't have to get into a category or choose a side. Just choose the side of truth, justice, righteousness. Can't go wrong there. And that's why we're going to talk about it later in the show. Got a lot going on this weekend. The Super Bowl is happening this weekend. Even the Super Bowl. Can't even watch a good game nowadays without the subject of race coming up. Brian Flores has sued the NFL and 3 of his teams for discrimination and not being forthright in their hiring practices. And they kind of pulled a chess move on him where they hired Lovie Smith. And of course, the attorneys for Brian Flores came out and said, look, you only hired Lovie Smith because I'm suing the NFL. Ooh, boy, that's kind of tough. That's a little dicey there. I'm not going to get into that, but I'm sure that probably didn't help Lovie Smith feel too good. Wait a minute, what you trying to say there, brother? You said I didn't deserve this job. So, but that's part of the tactic, is to divide and conquer. So don't fall for it. Let's see. We have a Super Bowl happening this weekend. I'm going to give you a little Super Bowl trivia this morning as we get ready for the big game. Did you know the big game? Many companies have to use the big game when they're talking. They have to use the term big game, because the term Super Bowl is a trademark name. And unless you're a sponsor or affiliated with the organization, you can't use that term in certain contexts, in certain situations. That's a piece of trivia there in itself. Let's see, the Super Bowl this year is going to be at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, California, on Sunday, February 13th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's in Inglewood, California. The stadium is home to the Los Angeles Chargers and the Los Angeles Rams. Okay, that's a little trivia. The broadcast is going to be on NBC, and it's available on live stream or the NBC website. Who's performing at the halftime show? Well, very interesting lineup this week. We have Dr. Dre. I didn't know he was still singing. I really didn't. I knew he had these nice beats. He sold these Beats headsets and made $1 billion. He's a billionaire now. But apparently he's gonna shake off the millions and go out there and grab the mic. Snoop Dogg, that's that lady. He and that lady that does the cooking show. Martha Stewart, I guess he and Martha are going to take a break. Mary J. Blige and Kendrick Lamar. So we're going to have quite a halftime show this year. Mary J. Blige disclosed that she is not being paid for this event. Now, many people might say, what you talking about, Mary J? Why are you not getting paid, sister? Well, Mary J. is a marketer. She understands marketing. And matter of fact, you have to understand the big picture. Now, I know many people, we have shortchanged ourselves and our careers by taking the quick, immediate cash and not looking at the long game. So as part of Mary J's strategy, she's saying, look, give me the exposure. All these millions of folks that's going to be watching this, and I can reignite my career. So the little money you give me might, buy me a new car, another house. But if I can get these followers and get my career jump started again, that's going to be worth more than any type of small paycheck. So I can get that. In marketing and advertising, we would call that communication or nurturing advertising versus direct action advertising. She's not out here asking you to buy her record, but she is nurturing her database, her fans, her followers, and bringing in new people. So, Mary J, I'm not mad at you. I would want a little something, though. Pay for my gas. Pay for the hotel. Give me something, though. So, anyway. Let's see. What else is going on? The tickets for this year's show, about $5,000. So, if anybody's thinking about flying out there at the last minute and grabbing a ticket, get to bust that piggy bank. $5,000. That's the top view. Let's see. And the premium seats can cost up to $20,000. Needless to say, I won't be going to the show this year. I'll be right here on the marketing pulpit, bringing you the good marketing gospel, saving souls and not businesses, or the Super Bowl for that matter. Cost about $40 to $60 to park at the Super Bowl. That's interesting. Let's see, on-site parking. Let's see, stadium for $240, $300 for a van. Let's see here. Advertising on the Super Bowl. This year, a 30-second ad cost about $6.5 million. Let me get my check out here. I'll take two. Only $13 million for a minute. Wow, that's some serious cheddar to advertise. But once again, like we talked about Mary J, everything is relative. That's what I'm trying to get my audience to. I want you to think like some of these ballers, these high rollers. The reason you do these kind of things is because you understand how advertising and marketing works. A company will spend $6.5 million for a 30-second ad because they have some type of either experience, data, research to convince them that they will get a return on that advertising investment. So I've been saying this for many years. It's not a matter of how much the ad costs. The question is, does it work? And that's why we're going to talk about advertising secrets later in the show. We're going to talk about some of the best kept secrets in advertising and how we're going to put you up there in that league of people who understand how advertising works. Let's see here. I'm going to say good morning to some of the folks who are tuning in. Good morning, Pauline. Thank you for joining us this morning. She's echoing my beliefs. That's right. You worry about your kids feeling hurt. What about our kids? We got kids too. Mr. Brown, thank you for tuning in every week. You're a great listener and a great plumber, the greatest plumber in town. William from Idea Gear, the importance of creating and protecting your brand. We're going to talk about some of that also when we get to advertising later in the show. So we have a power-packed show today. If my energy seems a little low today, man, I'm telling you, I think sometimes, see, we have a finite amount of psychic energy. And that psychic energy, it affects your physical energy, your physiological energy. And I'm telling you the truth, guys. This race thing can really wear you down. You shouldn't let it. But, man, you get tired. I think Fannie Lou Hamer said, get tired of being sick and tired. We shouldn't be having these discussions in 2022. Worry about a Super Bowl, and you got folks out here taking your right to vote away, telling your kids they can't learn about their own history, whitewashing what's going on. Anyway, I'm not going to bring you down with me. This is my issue I have to deal with. Because, see, I grew up as a civil rights advocate. I mean, I've always been fighting for justice. And I don't fight from it from a standpoint of taking from somebody or making somebody above somebody else. I've always fought for fairness across the board, whether it's anybody, whether it's poor, regardless of your race, whether it's for women, anybody who's oppressed, you have an ally in me. But when you're in the oppressed group and you're trying to fight for other groups too, it can really take a toll on you. But I try to stay in my lane too. My area is marketing and business development. But as these stories you will find out, as we talk about later in the show, you will see that it's hard to compartmentalize this stuff when it's always in your face everywhere you go. So that's it. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some of the items that's in the news, including, this is also the weekend before Valentine's Day. And you have to dig in your pocket a little bit this year. Price of products and goods are going up. So that candy and those flowers and whatever you decide to do, that's going to cost a little more this year. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about what's going on at Spotify. Neil Young, man, he's not hearing it. He said, Spotify, if you work over there, they're stealing your soul. Okay, Neil's not hearing it. Neil's not here. He's not feeling Spotify right now. So we're going to talk about that and some other items. This is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood. We'll be back in a moment. I'm not busy. I'm just in another era. Lock the refrigerator door. Do not let negativity have another bite. Don't feed it. If we know that women are carrying the burden, they should be paid more, they should be given more flexible work hours. I may stop at some period, but as long as folks bag the food, got to talk about it. Teachers accused of promoting CRT by celebrating Black History Month. Man, we have gone into a dark hole. The people who are doing the dastardly deeds are now making it difficult and in some cases impossible to talk about it. Our forefathers have been lynching, raping, discriminating, and that's not everybody. I'm just telling you, there's certain segments of society. But now, the people that they have put on this earth now are fighting to make sure that we don't know about the deeds that they did. Because if you keep people in the dark, the good people won't come together. You got to keep people divided to beat them. Welcome back to the Marketing Pulpit Show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. We're not saving souls, we're saving businesses, saving jobs, saving our community. And if you find yourself at a business crossroads and not sure which way to turn, just turn on the Marketing Pulpit Show. That's simple. If you're a business owner, why wouldn't you do this? It's free. I know what I'm talking about. The things that I talk about, these are services and concepts that have been proven and tested. I've had about 30 years of doing this. I have an active client list right now. I've been trying to cut back, trying to chill a little bit as I get a little longer in the tooth, but it gets harder because these services are needed. And when people call me, It's hard to say no. Find out more about the show, go to gatewoodmarketing.com. You can also go to social media. You can go to Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter. We're on LinkedIn. And we are all things marketing pulpit, or you can just Google Robert Gatewood. And of course, you can go to marketingpulpit.com and we blast the show right on the homepage. So if you don't have social media, if you don't feel like trying to dig up all those handles, just go to Marketing Pulpit. And the show is broadcasting live right on the homepage. Let's talk about some items in the news. Later in the show, we're going to talk about the secret sauces of advertising. Some of the advertising's best kept secrets. Doesn't matter what your budget is. I don't care if it's $10. If it's $10 that's not spent right, it's wasted. And I don't care if it's $10 million. If it's $10 million and you get a return, it's a good $10 spent. So don't confuse the amount of money you spent in making a decision. The reason people don't advertise, I'm going to give you a little tip into what I'm going to talk about later on. But one of the number one reasons people don't advertise is because they are not sure it's going to work. They don't think they're going to get a return on that investment. And I wouldn't either. Think about it. You think these folks that spending $6.5 million on the Super Bowl would do that if they felt like they weren't going to get a return? But what they did, they got some of these tips that I'm going to give you later on. So they were able to advertise with confidence. And you should too. Not advertising is not an option. What is an option is to do it right. And that's why we're going to talk about it as we build strong businesses in our community and put our people to work. And we can only do that if our businesses are successful. And there is no way around successful marketing and advertising if you want that to happen. I'm not busy. I'm just in another era. Lock the refrigerator door. Do not let negativity have another bite. Don't feed it. If we know that women are carrying the burden, they should be paid more. They should be given more flexible work hours. I may stop in some period, but as long as folks bagging the food, got to talk about it. All right, got lights back on over here. Lights acting the food today. So let's get to the news. If you're going to be celebrating Valentine's this weekend, coming up on Monday, it's February 14th this year, it's going to cost you about $175.41 per person. That's up from $164 last year. So you're going to spend about $10 more on advertising, shopping. On Valentine's shopping this year versus last year. That's a lot of money, though. I didn't know folks spend that kind of money on Valentine's. How much does a box of candy cost? Man, I guess folks be buying rings and candy and pajamas and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, it's going to cost you about $175 this year. It's up from last year. Let's see what else is going on. Peloton. Now, Peloton laid off about 2,800 people this week. And when they did that, the company, they had a virtual Zoom meeting this week to introduce the new president and let everybody know, look, we're ready to take off now with our new leaner, meaner company. Well, what they forgot to do is that they gave the former employees access to the meeting, and they crashed the meeting. And they blasted the new CEO. Some of them were saying, look, I'm going to sell my Peloton equipment so I can eat. Now, Peloton, I think they were a little tone deaf, because when they gave, as part of the severance package for the workers, they gave them free membership to Peloton for a year. In other words, they want to rub it in their face for a year with this membership. And of course, many of them said, no thanks, that was not a good idea. So I don't think, just in the future, ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to fire somebody and lay them off to the tune of 2,800 people, the last thing they want is a reminder every month of your membership. So that was not a good idea. Just give the people the money, whatever that membership is worth, even if it's at the cost versus retail. Give them the money versus giving them, that's rubbing their nose in it. So just give the people the money. Daggone it. Now, Amazon has raised the roof on their salaries. Their average salary now, hold on a second. All right, we're back. We're having some lighting malfunctions over here, but we are back. We're going to chug on here. Let's see. Amazon has raised the average salary of its executives from $160,000 a year to $350,000 a year. Man, they're doing a lot of Amazon Prime is paying off. That's pretty good. But then again, they should. I mean, they're making a lot of money. I hope they make that money, trickle that money down to the warehouse workers too, and their drivers and their contractors. Everybody that's associated with Amazon should be getting paid big time. Let's see. Spotify. Joe Rogan, as we said, he has upped the ante. He pulled his information from the Spotify platform. I'm sorry, Neil Young over to Joe Rogan, who they accused of spreading misinformation. And so Neil Young, along with NDRE, have pulled their music from the platform. And Neil Young said the Spotify workers should quit before it eats up your soul. Now, I would say this about Spotify. I actually believe that Spotify has kind of strayed away from its mission. It started out as a music platform and, of course, expanded into the podcast and so forth. But I think it's making a mistake. I think it made a miscalculation. Whether it was with Joe Rogan or somebody else, when you start getting into things like podcasts and people with different belief systems, and your audience is really most of them just want some good old music, you're muddying the water. And I think that's going to hurt Spotify. Their stock has dropped. It was like $323 a share a few months ago, maybe earlier maybe last year, and now it's down into 200. They've lost a lot of shares of their stock. So they have to go back, I think, and revisit their mission and their purpose and what they're out here to do. Is it to be a music platform or a place for political discussions? And they're finding out the hard way as they have lost billions of dollars in the stock market. Now, Amazon has expanded to teachers accused of promoting CR. They have the saying that if you build a better mousetrap, the world will be the path to your door. Now, that's a notion that has been around for a while. And what that portends is that if you're providing innovative, top-notch services and products, that the public will reward you. They will literally be the path to your door. I mean, how can you argue with that? Except it's not just good enough now to have a superior product. Yes, I want you to continue to put out a good product, but what I'm going to ask you to do today is to spend some of that energy, besides putting out a good product, you have to put some energy on getting the world to beat that path to your door. No matter how good your product is, if people don't know about it, they're not coming to your door, and it's certainly not beating the path. All right, let's keep moving here. This is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. What we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. We got to check on a couple of technical issues going on here in the studio. But when we come back, we're going to talk about, in this Black History Month, we're going to talk about race in the workplace, how this racial animus has infiltrated our jobs, our companies, our relationships, partners, investors, vendors. And so I feel it's only fitting on this Black History Month that we look at these topics. It's really getting crazy out here. So what I want you to do, just hang on with us. I'm going to go wiggle a few wires here. This is the Marketing Pulpit show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we'll be back in one moment. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I'm not busy. I'm just in another era. Lock the refrigerator door. Do not let negativity have another bite. Don't feed it. If we know that women are carrying the burden, they should be paid more. They should be given more flexible work hours. I may stop in some period, but as long as folks bag the food, got to talk about it. All right, we're back. This is the Marketing Pulpit show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. We're not saving souls. We're saving businesses, saving jobs, saving our community. Let's talk about this race in the workplace. Now, we're in the midst of Black History Month, and this is traditionally when we roll out the usual Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and so forth. The challenge right now is that some people do that because it feeds their comfort level. They don't want to deal with the issues that are happening right here in front of us. And then you have the extreme extremists that don't even want to give you that. It's like, hey, we can't talk about Harriet Tubman because she ran this underground railroad trying to free people who were slaves, and we don't want our children to know that we, at some point, one race was enslaving the other. But we don't have to go back to history. Let's deal with some of the things that are happening right now. Two white men were arrested for shooting at a black Federal Express driver. DeMontario Gibson was delivering FedEx packages in Brookhaven, Mississippi last month, when two men chased and shot at him as he was in his delivery truck. And his brother out here trying to get his work on. Gregory Case and his son Brandon were arrested for the January 24th attack. And initially, the police didn't take it seriously. I mean, it's easy to not take it seriously if they're not shooting at you. Man, come on, people. We can do better than this as a society. We have to turn down the temperature. That's why part of my mission, I tell you, I'm going to increase my mission really to try to not let these forces, these sinister forces, have the upper hand. Because I have a platform that we're going to educate, we're going to push back. We're going to inform and educate as we strive to be more economically viable. Let's see. GOP lawmaker apologizes to CBC chair after response to wear a mask. Let's see here. Congress Lady Betty, she was getting on the train, the Congress train, and she turned around and saw Hal Rogers not wearing his mask, and she asked him politely, "Can you put your mask on?" Well, he poked her in the back and told her to kiss his you-know-what. And this is a congressperson. These are folks that we elect to go in there and represent us and pass laws, and you wonder why children are misbehaving. You wonder why people are shooting and drive-throughs, and you're wondering why kids are breaking into stores and smashing the glass and taking out the jewelry and hijacking. Look at the adults. They'll know better. Be civil, ladies and gentlemen. Treat people like you want to be treated. And better yet, that's the golden rule. How about the platinum rule? Treat them the way they want to be treated, regardless of how you want to be treated. You might like that kind of stuff. Told the lady to kiss his behind because she asked him to wear a mask, and he poked her. And one thing you're not going to do, you can't go around assaulting our women. That is not ever going to be acceptable. No, that's not going to happen. Well, anyway, he apologized. So, shouldn't do it. But, I mean, when people apologize, I do give them you can't always forgive, but you can at least move on. And hopefully that can bring, sometimes we can take these and make them into teachable moments. Maybe the next time he won't do it, and maybe somebody else in a similar situation will refrain. So let's learn from this experience. But man, keep your hands off people, and don't be telling people to kiss your dirty behind. Now here's something that's this is kind of an interracial issue. Actress Tandy Newton apologizes to darker skinned actresses. I'm sure many of you have seen this video floating around the internet where she is crying like a baby because she was on the set of this movie God's Country, and she decided to apologize for dark-skinned women because she felt like she wasn't representing them adequately. She says, "I am sorry that I am the chosen one. My mama looks like you," she says in her tearful tone. She said, "It's been very painful to have women who look like my mom, and I feel like I'm not representing them." She felt like she was taking them down, taking their men, taking their work, and taking their truth. And she said she didn't mean to. Now, this addresses the colorism issue we have in this country. And this colorism is not just an issue between black and white. It's actually an issue among blacks, where certain people feel that people of a lighter hue are awarded certain favors and preferential treatment. And that is some truth to that. If the darker you are, the harder it gets to get those opportunities. Of the few opportunities that are afforded to blacks, they tend to go to people of a lighter hue. And that's been an ongoing problem. So I would give Tandy an A+ for bringing light to the situation, to the problem. Where she has somewhat dropped the ball, and this is what many people have called her on it, is that I think she made it a little too personal. She didn't have to say, "I'm taking your man and your job." I think she could have left that part out. She could have said, "Other people like me or people of lighter complexion could be having, men may prefer a lighter person over a darker person." But when she made it personal, people said it sounded like ego tripping. And it did kind of, when I heard it the first time, I was kind of like, I don't know if she should have been the messenger. But it is a problem in our society. And so we know that there's a problem with certain races, being chosen over other races. In other words, blacks being on the bottom end of the totem pole in so many areas. But it goes a little deeper than that into the color sphere. So first of all, if you're a person of color, don't do that. You may have to go do a little self-reflection and ask yourself, are you guilty of it? Do you look at people of a lighter complexion and give them higher marks? Whether it's for job opportunities, whether it's for dating, whether it's for whatever type of relationship. Are you guilty of that? And if so, stop it. But at the same time, you can't penalize people of lighter complexion if they were born that way. They had nothing to do with it. Now, if they're using it and abusing it, then I have a problem with that. But I would give Tandy some points for trying to at least draw attention to what is a problem that affects our community. Man, the things we have to deal with. Man, we go out here and all we trying to do is make a living. But man, every time you turn the corner, there's something else that comes up that you hadn't even given a thought to. And I opened up my feed and this lady on here crying. I'm trying to figure out what she's crying about. But when I heard it, I said, well, she's right. But was she the messenger and was the way she delivered it the right way? Tell you, boy, Black Twitter wasn't hearing it. They got all these satires of her out there on the internet. Man, that internet is cruel. It is a cruel place. Let's move on here to something else here. What else we got? Representative Cori Bush isn't backing down on her defund the police slogan. Here's another issue that's dividing the community. Man, we got to come together. We have enough issues, enough forces to fight without fighting among ourselves. Now, Cori Bush, we know that during the 2020 midterms, the Democratic Party took a lashing, and no, I'm sorry, not the 2020. They think during the upcoming 2022 midterm, they think that the Democrats are going to take a lashing because of this slogan, defund the police. And so many people in the progressive camp have even said, look, let's not use that term because the people on the right are using it to divide and to use it as a mark, turn it against you. In other words, people hear defund the police, they think that means don't support the police. But people in the movement know what defund the police means. It means reallocate resources so that you're not using that money to buy tanks and powerful weapons when you could be using that for resource officers, psychological assistance, mental health, pre-K, a lot of other things that can do to usurp some of the problems instead of bringing out the police every time somebody has an issue. I think it's universal that most fair-minded people understand that that's a legitimate cause. But the actual slogan itself has been problematic because the people on the opposition have used it as a weapon. Youngkin in Virginia, guys down in Texas and Florida, it's like they were handed a free shot, a layup. Now, I'm going to give you the perspective from a marketing person. I do agree that the slogan has some issues. I am 100% behind the sentiment. I think that there should be reform, reallocation of resources. Then, if that's the goal and if that's the objective, we should probably call it that. Reform the police, reallocate resources. Defund the police has a nice slogan, a nice ring to it, but I think it's been used against the very people who are using it. And we know from marketing, messaging is everything. Good intentions don't always make good strategy. So sometimes you have to even take an idea that people might not even find palatable. You put a good slogan behind it, you spin it the right way, you can make something bad good. But I think it's terrible when you have something that's actually good and then it's spin to make it look bad, which happens to be the case with defund the police. Man, I'm telling you, when that's somebody breaking into your house or stealing the tires off your car, defund the police is not the last thing you want to hear. I'm telling you. Anyway, that's my take on it. The last story before we get into our sermon, the Black-owned businesses are thriving during the Great Resignation. In other words, there's about 1.5 million Black businesses right now. And that's greater than before the pandemic. And so it happened, in many cases, it was because of opportunity. Some people just had more time. And so what we're seeing right now, so we're looking at a cloud, a silver lining that come out of this cloud called the pandemic and the lockdown, that Black businesses are thriving. And I know that to be true because my company is a business development company, and we've launched so many new companies, and even some of the ones that had gone dormant, we've given them new life during this pandemic. And my own company has grown during the pandemic. So that's the cyclical nature of business. Once you throw your head out there and you don't know which way that road is going to turn, but you just have to stay with it. Once you commit, but think long and hard before you do. Make sure you have the right mindset, the right mission, you've identified the right market, and you have a little money to invest in it. And once you've made that decision, you pass those 4 tests, man, you need to jump out there with reckless abandon and make it happen. And then talk to a guy like me to make sure you're doing it the right way. All right, we're going to take one last break before we come back. We're going to talk about advertising. I'm going to put this question to you before we come back. Should you advertise your services or should you advertise your brand? That's one of those secrets of marketing and advertising I'm going to talk about when we come back. This is the Marketing Pulpit Show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I'm not busy. I'm just in another era. Lock the refrigerator door. Do not let negativity have another bite. Don't feed it. If we know that women are carrying the burden, they should be paid more. They should be given more flexible work hours. I may stop in some period, but as long as folks bag the food, got to talk about it. All right, we're back. Thank you again to our sponsors who make this show possible. People like BLE Executive Suites. They have their 3 locations here in the DC area. They have the one in Largo, one in National Harbor, and of course they have their location in College Park, which is a hub zone. So if you need business services, phone answering services, office space, contact BLE, and they'll be glad to take care of your business development and office needs. All right, let's talk about advertising for a minute. Now, advertising, when people think of advertising, they just think about the advertising that they see. and not giving full thought to the process of what goes on behind the scenes. Now, if your company has any chance of surviving, and when you start a company, the chances of survival is actually small to begin with. You're not helping your odds if you're not advertising. Matter of fact, if you're not advertising, you're basically guaranteeing your failure. Now, some of you have not been advertising, but it's not too late to start. Companies that don't advertise quite simply go out of business. The number one reason they don't advertise, they're not convinced that it's going to work. That leaves you with two choices. You either make it work or you keep making excuses. But you cannot choose not to advertise. So if you're not advertising, you might as well just get out of the game. Make room for the people who are, because you're just wasting time, I'm telling you. I know it's hard. But advertising is, let me tell you about some of the things that advertising does. One thing is advertising creates what we call barrier to entry. Companies that advertise keep the other companies out. If you're in an industry that's competitive or really just getting started, and you got a lot of competition out there trying to decide whether they're going to jump in or not, you will make it difficult for competitors by spending heavily on advertising. This is called the market power theory of advertising. Matter of fact, if you're advertising the right way, people will be afraid to try the other company because your company, your brand is so strong and your product looks so superior. It almost looks like a different product. And they'll be afraid to try the other product versus yours. So advertising creates a barrier to entry. And it makes people afraid to try something different or substitute. Advertising also creates this thing called goodwill. It's like it's part of the assets of your company. It's an asset that builds intangible value called goodwill or brand equity. Advertising does that. It's also a defensive weapon against competitors. Back in 1991, McDonald's, it was public because a lot of this information is public because they're a public corporation. They cut their advertising budget significantly. This is back in 1990, 1991. And we wonder why companies are always advertising. It's like, who doesn't know what McDonald's is? Why do they need to advertise? When they stopped advertising, or they cut their advertising during that period, Pizza Hut sales increased by 61%. Taco Bell grew by 40%. And McDonald's saw a sales decrease of 28% just by cutting their advertising budget. So advertising is not only offensive, it's also a defensive weapon. Also, advertising in this digital age is actually become a product. A lot of the advertising, a lot of the business models right now is built on selling advertising, either indirectly or directly. Many of the companies like Google or Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, their business model is based upon selling advertising. And they get that advertising by giving away free services. Facebook gives you a nice page, profile. YouTube lets you upload this videos to its platform. Twitter gives you a nice little page. You can tweet and carry on. LinkedIn, all of them. But what they're actually selling on the other end is advertising. They might sell you a membership every now and then, but what they're actually, their main product, one of their main revenue generators is advertising. That tells you the power of advertising. Another thing about advertising is more often than not, it just plain doesn't work. Some of the main reasons are your ads are just too general. You can't sell everything to everybody. When you try to sell everybody, you sell nobody. You're not pushing the right hot buttons. The main hot buttons for advertising, either make money or save, or make money or save money, some type of physical need, comfort, convenience, pleasure, security, and social proof. You got to get one of those emotional hot buttons in the ad, or it's probably not going to work. Another reason advertising isn't working because you're not focused on the sales process. You run a good ad, people call in, and you're not closing. You don't understand the objections, the benefit selling, or how to close. So sometimes it's not the ad itself. Sometimes it's what happens after the ad has run. And of course, one of the most fatal mistakes is to spend all your money on getting the customers, but not keeping those customers. You're not getting the lifetime value. So you must advertise at all times, even when times are good and when times are bad. And also you must pay for advertising. People hate to hear this. Like, can I go out here and get some free advertising? Can I go out here and do organic? Can I sit here and post 50 different times on Facebook? Upload my nice videos on TikTok? Yes, you can. But unless you're going to be doing that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're not going to do enough of it to sustain your business. And the other problem usually is because when you're doing that organic advertising, it's only going to people you already know. They probably already bought from you. They did their complimentary purchase when you first started out. Grandma, little man, and cousin Sue, and the pastor, and your sorority sister, they already bought from you. They may buy some more, but you got to sell some strangers. You got to get those strangers in the door. You got to get some names of people that you can't pronounce. And the only way to do that is through spending some money on advertising. I remember my first time I started advertising. I sent out a direct mail piece over in the Maryland area. I got a call from this bakery over in Iverson Mall called Iverson's, what's called Tiffany's Bakery. And the owner called me and said, I got your piece in the mail. Because before that, like everybody else who was just starting out, I was selling to people that I knew. Family, friends, neighbors, church members. Either this is Mr. Mahia. Like, what the heck? I thought that was Magia. But he was a Latino. His wife and 3 daughters had this bakery over in Iverson Mall. He became a client of mine because I advertised. I would not have gotten them otherwise. I had to spend some money. I had to design me a nice piece, put it in the mail. I said, this advertising things, that's something to think about. Let's see. And don't get hung up on the free stuff, because I already told you about what free means. If the service is free, including advertising, the product is you. Now let's talk about some of these quickly. We're going to talk about some of the best kept secrets in advertising. I'm going to run down the list quickly here before we get out of here. You can outperform, you can outmaneuver a much better finance company by being smart in your advertising. Doesn't matter how big they are, how much better their product may be. If you are smarter than at advertising, you can still win. You have a weapon. You just have to know how to use it. Here's another secret. You should alternate between advertising the services that you offer and advertising your brand. See, everybody knows the Gatewood does business development services. We do websites, we do marketing, we do web, we do SEO, we do strategies, we do social media. But what about the folks that don't know about me, the company, how good we are? What if they don't know about the brand? So I have to be advertising the brand too. And we advertise the brand by doing things like social media, by doing things like sending out newsletters, by doing things like having a podcast. So you have to be advertising the services, but you also have to spend some money on advertising your brand to elevate your company so that people feel safe doing business with you. Now, here's another secret sauce, another advertising secret. Different types of services require different types of ads. If you're selling a service like mine, that requires a lot of explaining, you have to run different types of advertising than somebody who's selling a t-shirt or a car. Everybody knows what a car does. I don't have to convince you. I don't have to say, hey, look, I got this product here that has 4 tires on it. Got this round thing up here in the middle of the dashboard that makes it go from left to right. You don't need to do that. I know how a car works. But what I don't know is how a marketing strategy works. I don't know how a financial plan works. I might not know how to wield the process of probate. I have to run a different type of ad than somebody else who's selling something that's already completely understood. And many people haven't gotten that. People that have these complicated services, they're running these 30-second, 15-second spots, and it's not working for them. And I see some people spending too much time and energy on these products that people already understand how they work. You need to flood the market and just let them know how to get it, that you have it, how much you're going to pay for it, and how to get to it. So every ad depends on the service you have. Different types of advertising is required. Now, I say this with tongue in cheek, but that's really not any wasted advertising. You run an ad, you didn't get all the sales you wanted, but don't beat yourself up too badly about it. You want to talk to somebody like me before you do it. But advertising it's not really wasted. Even if you didn't get a client at that moment, you probably did some branding. You probably reached some people that could possibly work for you, some contractors, some partners, joint venturers. You can use that content for other purposes. So don't feel too badly if you don't feel like you've gotten your money's worth right away. Because sometimes when we say that thing about the ads didn't work, you may not have given yourself enough options on what constitutes work. So you might look at KPIs, learn what KPIs mean, key performance indicators. You may have gotten more visits to your website. You may have gotten more engagement. You may have gotten more people to sign up on your YouTube channel. So don't beat up on yourself if you didn't get the sale. And sometimes that sale is delayed. A client sitting in front of me, matter of fact, 2 days ago, telling people we did a direct mail campaign when we first became engaged with my company. And he said somebody called him. He said, I didn't even know I still sold that product because people were still calling him 2 years later. So don't beat yourself up too badly if you haven't gotten the result right away. Now, here's another little secret that you just may not ever think about because some of us haven't been in the game long enough. The cost of advertising tends to drop the longer you're at it. Sometimes it's because of relationships. Sometimes it's the economy of scale. Sometimes it's just getting smarter at it, studying the analytics. So if you're feeling advertising pains initially, you've got to go through that process. But I'm telling you, it gets easier and the pain abates. Your pocket doesn't sting as much the longer you do it. Now, I get a lot of people say that, well, I don't do advertising because I'm doing word of mouth. I get all of my customers through word of mouth. Well, you get all of your customers through word of mouth. Okay, so you got 10 customers, but that's not all the possible customers. Just because you got your 1 customer through word of mouth or your 10 customers through word of mouth, that's not the end of the story. Here's one of those other secrets of advertising. If you're getting all of your customers or most of your customers through word of mouth, you will get even more word of mouth customers when you advertise. Gel on that for a minute. So you're actually feeding the golden egg, the chicken that lays the golden eggs by advertising. And here's the exponential magic of what I just said. If you're getting most of your customers through word of mouth, when you advertise, you're going to get more word of mouth customers, and you can use your advertising to let people know that most of your customers come from word of mouth. Man, I'm telling you, I'm letting you in on some secrets today. I'm using them and they're working, and I'm using them for my clients. I'm just giving you some of the best kept secrets right now. So let me close this thing out here. Whether you're just starting a business, whether you're struggling, or whether you're trying to expand, You will sleep better at night if you laying there in the bed, if you have a business, knowing that you have some advertising out there generating leads, prospects, and customers for your business. I'm telling you this from somebody who has been doing this for 30 years. When I'm not advertising, what am I waiting? What do I think is going to happen? You think people are going to just come to you through osmosis? Or that one or two people that sending you referrals are going to keep you afloat? What if they decide to start referring somebody else? Or they start selling what you're selling? You're out of business. You will sleep better at night knowing that you have something out there generating leads, prospects, and customers for your business. You don't always know what's going to happen when you wake up that morning. But when I come into my office, without failure, somebody is calling me, somebody is emailing me, somebody is texting me because they have seen some of my advertising. So when I go to bed at night, I'm sleeping like a baby. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but I know something good because I'm advertising my business. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for tuning in to the show this morning. This is the Marketing Pulpit. We'll be back next week, same time, same channel. Let's go out here and do something prolific in this Black History Month. Let's support a Black business. Let's help somebody up. Let's try to build some bridges and cut down on some of this racial animus that's going on. Everybody that's Black is not your friend, and everybody that's white is not your enemy. So we got to build partnerships. We got to go out here and make this country work, make it better. We do that by being a better person, by setting examples. And understand, like the author Neely Fuller said, he said, justice means that nobody is mistreated and that the people that need the help most get the most help. So let's go out here in that spirit on this Black History Month. Thank you again, everybody who's tuning in today. Candace says the process gets easier. Amen, Candace. You're exactly right. Brenda had a question. How about a model? I'll take that question offline. But thank you for the questions because we're about to wrap this puppy up. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the Marketing Pulpit Show. We'll be back next week in this Black History Month. We're going to continue the conversations about race, and we're going to bring the good news as well as the news that need to be addressed. All right, that's it for today. Folks, this is the Marketing Pulpit TV show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and if you want to be successful, you have to do these three things. Do the right thing, do it at the right time, and you have to do it right. Enough talk. Let's get to work. People don't understand marketing. You can't stop every time the money runs out. You need to come on and tell people why your service is different. Why is everybody so angry? Airline passengers biting the TSA agents. I mean, it reminds me of one of those zombie apocalyptic movies. And as a community, collectively, we're going to be taken more seriously if we have that strong economic foundation. Do the right thing. Do it at the right time, and you have to do it right. Enough talk. Let's get to work.